This is Tom Duty, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you'd type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty and a Google search for my site. I updated my profile picture and it got approved. So I held up a second cell phone with my name written on it. So from the picture, the people can tell who I am. This earning details, recent transactions. Now we just today started a new week, so there we go. So here's last week, $229. This is not an all-time record for me in deliveries, but considering the amount of time I put into it, this is a huge improvement. I have said in previous videos that the amount of money I earn is embarrassingly low. You know, I'd go in and I'd do a couple deliveries and I'd get paid $6. It just seems stupid. And through a couple of very small adjustments, I've been able to get up to this much for a week without working that much. And when I do work, the work is really easy. So I'm going to talk first about the amount of money I earned, and then second about these adjustments I've made to get higher. So here's trip by trip. And when I said in the past, embarrassingly low, that's because these trips, this contains a tip, by the way. That's what the green check is. So those numbers contain a tip. You'd have to subtract the tip out of there to be able to see what I got paid without the tip. There's a $4 tip, so 4 comes out of, so it gets down less than $3. And this is probably a $2 tip. Yep. So 2 comes out and you have $2.89. Again, less than $3, less than 3, less than 3, less than 3. So that's yesterday. So, and if I go to transactions and look at the same time period, let me do this again. So trips. So yesterday, it's very specific. So listeners, if you want to do some calculations to figure out, you know, how much I'm making, I'm not going to do that because I've listened to people and they're calculating what it's worth to them in different ways. It's not just dollars per hour. So I'm not going to attempt to make the right calculation for you, but listeners, I will give you enough information to calculate what I'm doing. And again, my adaptations I did to get my pay up to some reasonable level. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I got 6 deliveries yesterday. And I'm going to go back to trips. So my first call came at 3:30. So I went online at maybe 3. So, and I was done, this is probably a 15-minute delivery, I was done at 7:30. So 3 to 7:30, that's 4.5 hours. And it's fun work. I'm doing this walking route, which keeps the trip short and the food hot. People are appreciative. There are literally people pushing order. And within 15 minutes, I've got a McDonald's French fries and shake and a buttermilk fried chicken sandwich, hot, pulling it out of an insulated bag at their apartment door. It's really nice being part of a functioning system. And I felt like when I was doing the bike riding routes, this is where you change route right here. See, I'm set for walker right now. When I do the bicycle, that puts me in the rotation for bicycle routes, and those are not good. I've taken 50 minutes to complete a bicycle route before. So back to transactions and why that 3, 3, 3, 3, basically 3 times 6. I want to be more precise on earnings. Earning details. Now I forget if it was 6 or 7, and I just said it a minute ago. See trips. Trip history because I have the wrong week. So here, back to the last day of last week, see trips, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it's 6. So 6 times 3, $18. It's embarrassingly low money. So the transactions is where 18 becomes much more. So if I go down to, here's my first transaction on Sunday, and it was this, which came minutes before. So I get this extra $10, and that can only be explained with the promotion that was going at the time. So there's basically a $10 incentive, a $4 incentive, a 4, a 4, a 2. No, that's a tip. Promotion 4, and so on. So I'm gonna go through this slowly. So if anyone wants to kind of like pause and do some calculations to figure out what I'm making, you'll have the numbers here to do that. So again, here started $7.29, and I get 10. I'm just gonna go through slowly. $3.28, $3.46, $4.59. I'm reading the time. 5. Now I'm into the dinner hour. $5.22, $5.39, $5.43, $5.43. 6 p.m., 6:30, 6:30. And this is interesting. I actually quit here, and then I went to Home Depot, and I was meeting my wife afterwards, and I put the phone back on, and in 15 minutes I got an extra delivery. That's why there's a gap between 6:30 and 7:46. I was not online, and I was transporting myself down Broadway from from 9th Avenue and 43rd to 23rd Street, Home Depot. So that's the amount of money I made yesterday, and for the weekly, that got the weekly earnings up to $229. So the adjustments I made to get this is that I'm focusing on the walking route, and I'm getting a frequency delivery. So earlier I've reported in these videos that it's frustrating because the walking routes are clearly better, but I go onto the walking account and I don't get enough of them. So here's what I've done is I don't just go near the restaurants. I go to one of the popular restaurants, and I actually go in the restaurant. Now there's one that for me is a good location, bike racks in all directions, and they don't seem to tire of delivery people sitting around. So I can go in, I can pull up a stool, lean against the wall, and 15 later, and there's not any sense that I'm taking up anyone's seat or that I'm pressured to buy anything, and that's a place called Sticky's. Sticky's is inspired, I believe, by the Rolling Stones album Sticky Fingers, but it's called Sticky's, and they do chicken and French fries in high volume. And so that's one thing I do is I go not just near the restaurants, and this is how important it is. If the weather were nice, it's tempting to sit out near a bike rack. So I immediately have a bike when I get a call. But by being in the restaurant, I am the first one. There could be someone else in the restaurant who's on the walking Uber app just like me. So, because there are other delivery people around, but that's unlikely. So if I'm in there, I'm probably the only one on a walking account doing Uber, and if there is a Sticky Fingers order, I'm going to get it. So that's one adjustment I made. I'm actually sitting and waiting in the restaurant. And the other adjustment I made is just the understanding of, I did a video about this earlier in the week, the understanding about how to switch back and forth between walking and biking accounts, because the account wasn't, even though it allowed me to switch from here and change to bike, I'm not going to do it now. It registered bike, but in reality I was still getting walking orders. And then the next day I did the opposite, and I was getting bike orders when I was on walking. So it was really frustrating to not know, to all of a sudden expect a 15-minute delivery that takes 50 minutes. That's 15 minutes, 15 minutos. that becomes 50 minutos, 50 minutes. And that's because I thought I was on walker, but in reality, Google still had me registered as bicycle. So I figured out how to clear my data. Deleting and reinstalling the app would be another way to solve it, but a faster way is to delete data. Delete data, you come in, there will be no vehicle selected, then I choose walker, and then Google or Uber recognized me as a walker and gave me walking routes. So those are the two things I've done. Going into a restaurant and waiting in the restaurant, not near the restaurant. This is something Grover is a great reminder. Grover does a great job with prepositions. Near, not next to, near, in the restaurant. And the second thing is to figure out this little idiosyncratic thing with the app. This has been Tom Duty, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty in a Google search for my site. Thank you for listening. Have a good day, good evening, or restful night's sleep. Ciao.